Hello and welcome back to Balance and Bubbles. Hi, I'm Shannon.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amy, and we are so glad you're here. Last month, we spent time talking about listening to our body, paying attention to our thoughts, recognizing our emotions, and reconnecting with what matters most. And this month, we're taking the next step. We're not just going to notice, but we're going to choose how we want to respond.
Amy, I love this so much. This is so timely for us. I love this because the awareness is where last month we talked about is where the change happens, right? But it's not where it ends. It's not where it ends because once we become aware, we get to ask, what do I want to do with what I'm noticing? And that's big. So today we're talking about our minds, week 2 of the month. And because if we are honest, sometimes our mind can be our greatest ally. And sometimes it can really be the place that we get the most stuck, can't it?
Definitely. But before we get going into our content today, we are going to talk about our mocktail. So we're going to take our little pause together. If you're able to, grab something to sip on and settle in. Today, we are drinking a rosemary grapefruit clarity spritz. I love this one because rosemary has long been associated with clarity and remembrance, while grapefruit is bright, refreshing, kind of a way to wake up your senses. It definitely reminds me that clarity doesn't always come from thinking harder. Sometimes it just comes from creating a little bit of space. And Shannon, I also did put a little bit of peppermint oil in my diffuser in the room. So we got a lot of clarity going here.
Yes, ma'am.
Space. Oh, and by the way, everybody, we're back together. We're back together in the same spot.
So exciting. So exciting. So yeah, it smells so good in here. If you guys decide to make it, it smells really good with the rosemary. And so if you'd like the recipe, this week's reflection questions, check the links below in the podcast notes. We will have them there for you. And if you want to and you're able, go ahead and pause and we will be here when you come right back.
And don't forget the glitter.
Oh, yes, we got
glitter. Always got to add the glitter. Yeah. All right. So can I ask you something? We're going to start out with that today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you ever notice how quickly your mind starts creating stories?
Every day. Every day.
Yeah. And it always has like a beginning and end before you've even lived it out, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, me too. An example might be that someone doesn't text back. They must be upset. Someone walks past without saying hello. Did I do something that they didn't like? Your boss says, can we talk tomorrow? And then there goes the rest of the afternoon.
Oh my goodness. You know, this is so true. I remember when I was an officer and you'd get the call from your sergeant, hey, meet me back at the office. And you're already fired before you ever get back there, right? It's just in your head, like, what did I do? What did I say? Who complained on me? Yeah. And you know, it's so amazing. Our minds are constantly trying to fill in the blanks. And the funny thing is, most of the time we don't even stop and realize what it's doing. You know, it just starts and we just don't even question what it's saying.
We oftentimes don't stop and ask if the story's even true. We just start believing what the mind is generating for us.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's important to remember that our minds are always trying to protect us, right? Our minds want us to have certainty. They want things that are predictable. It wants to look at patterns. So when we don't have all the information available to us, our brains start filling in those missing pieces. And unfortunately, it's not just filling it in with the truth. Sometimes it fills it in from a fear position or a guilt. You know, what did I do? Or even it'll draw from an old experience.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. I have a story for you.
Okay.
So, because you guys know I'm all about stories, I always try to make it real life. So I had to get some blood work done the other day. And I have a friend that is a PA. And so I always am like, going to go to her with even though I have my real doctor, you know, and she cracks me up because she's like, I'll give her something and she'll be like, Amy, that's just one piece of information. Mm-hmm. Like they need, I can't give you a diagnosis over one little level of a blood. She's like, you've got to see the whole picture. You've got to put it all together. And so that kind of just makes me think, when she said that the other day, I was like, that's the same thing in life. Like a lot of times we'll make a decision or we'll process or we'll do things with just having one piece of information when there's a lots out there that basically would help you make a better decision. So even though, you may not always understand the information that's been given to you,
Mhm.
that guilt or trying to make a decision will show up before you've even thought about what's actually realistic with just a very little small piece of information.
Yeah, and I think that that's really important because we'll do that with our health, right? You've been, trying to figure out what's going on with your knee and
Yes.
everything, and the brain is like,
Yes.
everything, so and then it's like, "Oh, that must be it. This is what's going on right now." So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, completely. So I can totally relate to that. We just did we just got back from Cancun. It was lovely with my family celebrating my grandson's 18th birthday. And I was dealing with that mind chatter in the back because I was on vacation. I knew I was going to take 5 days and not do anything, but I still had all the stuff like where we are in the podcast. Does Amy need anything?
Right.
Should I pull my computer out? Right. I'm sure things are falling apart, not that they're falling apart.
No, yeah, no, yeah.
It's like, I'm not holding up my end.
Right.
So yeah, the brain just really wants to get in there and chatter at us. And a lot of times we just don't stop. We just don't stop and say, is this true? How do I put validity behind that thought that's going
Right.
on in my head? So one of the things that I did, instead of believing every thought that came into my mind, I stopped and said, is this actually true?
Mhm.
I'm sure if there was anything going on, Amy would reach out. I wasn't on an island somewhere. So, and that really afforded me to be able to spend the time in the day without, I could put it aside. I didn't have
Right.
to let that kind of keep creeping in.
It probably allowed you to be a little more present with your
Yes.
family. And then
Yes.
again, you were gone. What could you really do, right? But by the way, while she was gone, Facebook, Instagram, y'all were like cheering us on, and we cannot thank you enough. We got some of our like most likes and things like that. And we just want to give a huge shout out to anybody that's listening because this is really near and dear to our heart.
Yeah.
And, again, we hope that we can get people listening to it. But if whoever's listening to it, it's meant for you.
Yes.
That's the way I see it.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. I love it. So, Amy, if we take a look at thinking about last month, we talked about emotions are information, right? The emotions don't have to run the show. And we're going to talk about thoughts being the same way. They're information, they aren't instructions.
And I'm going to say that again. Thoughts are information, not instructions. This has actually been so paramount for me in the past 3 or 4 months. I've had a lot of big decisions to make, and this has really helped me to just kind of sift through it, sit still, take in the information, and it's not necessarily instructions.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I've really enjoyed using this in my daily walk of life.
Yeah. And because I know you,
Yeah.
and I know that you are the type, I mean, we have different types of people, right? But I know that you are the type of person that when you get a thought, it just
Oh,
goes and
yeah.
goes and goes and goes, right? And so I love the fact that you're taking this and
Mhm.
recognizing that some of our thoughts deserve our attention, right? They're important thoughts. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, this is important. I have to work on this right now or whatever. And then some deserve curiosity, and that's where that questioning comes in of like, is this true?
Right, right.
Or do I need to do anything with it right now? And then some of it just deserve, thank you very much, brain, for chatting at me right now. But we're just going to let that one go today, right?
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
going to choose to believe that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I like that you say that because I mean, you're so right. Like if I get a thought in my head, my personality is that I have to act on it.
Mhm.
So something I've been working a lot on is you can just sit with it for a while, and a while can be longer than 24 hours.
Absolutely.
At least, you know what I mean? Like you're really good at that. I think you're really good at like taking but I think you've also been trained that way
Mhm.
from being in the police force and things. Like I just think you have that skill set ingrained in you from what you've been doing as a living. And my skill set is from what I've done for a living, problem solve. We got to move forward, we got to make a decision, and we got to act on it. And so, yeah, I think obviously our experiences also define us as we get older too.
Yes, 100%. I would say that with law enforcement, it kind of depends, right? Because when you're in
Right.
the middle of something,
That's
you
true.
don't have time to, you have to take action and take care of whatever you're working with and stuff. I think a lot of it came more when I began to understand more about the brain,
Mm-hmm.
and the study in neuroscience and stuff like that. And I fight my Aries fire all the time too, right? Like the action, get in there and take care of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so for everybody, Shannon is Aries and I'm a Pisces, and she's really good at this stuff. So, what would be our big, like, what connects us and what would disconnect us?
So I would say we would be more complimentary of each other if we understand it,
Yeah.
right? So I'm an Aries rising but a Virgo. So I do have that solid grounded piece. But so and being a Pisces, you're a water.
Mhm.
So you have to have a lot of detail. So probably, and I bet you we've never done this, but I bet
I
you
know.
if we were out walking together,
Uh-huh.
you'd be like, Shannon, why are you walking so fast? Because I am a super fast walker.
Interesting.
Yeah, and Pisces, like she's a slower
Yeah.
flow water
Yeah.
sign, and she's always like, I'm like walking like 10 feet ahead, and I don't do it on purpose. It's just my pace, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I could see that happening. I've had that happen a million times. I'm like, guys, why are we don't have to be anywhere like immediately.
yeah,
So that's
yeah.
interesting that you
No,
said that.
no. I had to tell people when we went to Disneyland one time with my family. My son is also a fire energy,
Uh-huh.
and I had to tell the kids in front of us were very slow. And I'm like, oh my goodness, my legs are cramping. You guys need to get out of
Get
the way.
going.
We need to move it. We need
Oh
to move it.
man.
Yeah.
Okay, so we sort of went off track, but
Yeah.
we're gonna get back on track. I want to give one more shout out to our anybody that is listening. Our podcast is balanceandbubblespodcast.com. We are on Facebook, Instagram. We are also on Apple. We're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't really know how all this works, but anytime you can like or share, it helps kind of spread the word to other people. Like,
Yes.
we literally learning all this stuff as we go. So hopefully y'all are noticing we're getting a little bit better each time.
Yes. Yeah. And we're trying to figure out being back in each other's, we're together because I'm looking at Amy, I'm looking at the camera, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, going back to our thoughts, I think one of the things that's really important for us is what we just touched on, but just going a little deeper is, am I believing this thought? Is this thought really true? Or what if we stop and go, is this a fact? Is there anything behind that? Yeah. Is this a factual thought? Or is this a story that my mind's creating? Because our minds will definitely do that. And this one simple question changes everything. If we're feeling the impulse to move on something, just taking that little quick breather and saying, is this a fact, or is my brain making this up? And because facts, when they are facts, usually bring clarity. But if we're making up a story, then that can cause us to feel anxious or ungrounded, feeling like we need to take action or do something.
And then let's not discount just adding it. If you have that thought and there's an emotion connected to it, that's going to take you in a whole different spin off, right?
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Well, I think this is also where softening comes in by not necessarily thinking less, but just being kinder in the way we think.
Yes. And kinder to ourselves.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, I think especially when we're proactive, busy, take action kind of women, softening can feel like we're giving something up, right? And softening is really not about letting every thought take over. It's learning to really notice which thoughts deserve a seat at the table and which ones can simply go by without us grabbing them and getting our attention.
Absolutely. The second half, we're going to stay completely in the mind lane. How do we actually begin changing those thought patterns? Because our brains are pretty efficient. Once they learn a pattern, they tend to go there automatically. I mean, I know I can tell you for almost every situation, I know that about myself. I go through the same thought pattern, and I am working hard on just, evaluating that as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. So that means you're perfect, right? Because our brains are designed to work in patterns. It makes it easier. Our brains expend so much energy And so it's always going to look for the easy way out. I hate to say that, but the brain is always going to look for the pattern that makes the most sense. It's going to look for the easy way out. And that's something that's amazing about our brain, because they do love familiar. And even when familiar isn't particularly helpful, that's what we have to recognize, right? That pattern. And so this is why that awareness matters so much. We can't change a thought pattern that we don't recognize. But once we do notice it, we have a choice. Do I keep rehearsing this thought over and over again, or do I replace it with one that's more true?
I love the word that you're saying, rehearsing, because that's exactly what it feels like sometimes. We rehearse a conversation that hasn't even happened. We rehearse worst case scenarios. We rehearse all the reasons we're not good enough. I know we both, you've rehearsed an entire conversation. What you've said, what the other person has said, then what you said, and then you've gone back and reran it when they said something different. I mean, it's exhausting.
It is. It is exhausting. And half the time, if you're pre-rehearsing a conversation, it never goes that way.
Never.
Right? It never does that.
Never.
I know. It's so funny. And so the interesting thing is that our brain doesn't always know the difference between what's happening and what we are repeatedly imagining. That's why, I'm just going to put this out here. That's why hypnosis works, because our brain doesn't understand the difference between real and make-believe. You want me to show you?
I'm scared.
No, don't.
Yes. I want you to show me.
No, I want everybody to do this.
Okay.
So just imagine for a second that you just see this big, beautiful, juicy lemon, right? Just you can see the glossy skin with the little dimples in it and everything. And I want you to just imagine putting it on a cutting board, and you take a knife and you cut that lemon in half, and you see those juices rolling and things like that. Now go ahead and just picture bringing it up and smelling. Smelling that lemon, right? Now I want you to take a big bite of that lemon.
It's already, my mouth's already.
Yeah.
Tart.
Right? Your saliva.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
So that's how powerful our imaginations are. Do we have a lemon in the room?
Well, we have one in our drink, but
no, we don't. You didn't bite into a lemon, right?
No.
But just imagining the juices and biting into it and knowing the tartness, and even just me talking about it, my salivary glands start going.
Like here, right? Like right here in my gums. You know that?
I was watching. Yeah. So
Oh.
that is just how powerful they are. So when we think about these thoughts that keep coming in and that we're imagining and things like that, imagine how that plays out in our brain. These scenarios, for sure.
That is such a powerful thought. And we're practicing something like this all day long, right? I mean, that's a really good scenario, the lemon. But the question is, what are you practicing like that during the day that you're constantly doing? So,
yes. Yeah. And, I heard someone say once, where attention goes, that's where the energy flows. Right. And I've really found that to be true. I found, if I spend my day focused on everything that I haven't accomplished, I end the day feeling like I'm behind, like I got nothing done. If I spend my day noticing what went well, I experience that same day very differently. And the circumstances haven't changed, just my perception has.
Absolutely. And I say this to my kids all the time. If they're listening to this, they'll laugh. I always am like, you need to have an attitude of gratitude. And, they're like, Mom. And I'm like, I'm just saying, like, it is your perspective, right? But this does remind me of something we always say all the time in coaching, that our brains have a negativity bias. The beautiful part about this is we can gently train our minds to notice what's also true, not true. Try to stay away from toxic positivity or things like that. So, I mean, definitely I always say we are the captains of our own ship.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't want to be the captain of my own ship, but unfortunately we are the captain of our own ship, and we do own our minds.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah. I think that's important, that talking about like the toxic positivity, because a lot of times people think like, oh, I can't have a negative thought, or if I have a negative thought come in, then, somehow I've done it wrong, or, kind of thing. But nobody wants to be Pollyanna either, right? Nobody wants to be like, oh, it's, because life is real, but it's not getting hung up and letting your brain spiral, because we do go to the negative. That's how we survived for all these years, was we were looking for things that were going to kill us, hurt us, take us out. And our brain still works that way. And so we grab that negative much more than we grab the positive. Do you know how many positives it takes that they say it takes to negate a negative?
The only reason I might know this answer, everyone, is because I think Shannon and I have talked about this. Is it like 28?
It's 10.
10.
10.
10
10 positives.
positives to 1 negative.
Yeah.
So, like, if you and I are talking and I say something you know might be negative, could hurt your feelings, I would have to say 10 positive things to you before you'd be like,
You'd have to give me 10
"Oh, she's
hugs.
nice.
You'd
She's
have to give me
nice."
10
Yeah,
hugs.
yeah, you do. Yeah. Oh,
Exactly. Yeah. So, not pretending that hard things don't exist. It's refusing to let one thought become the whole story.
and I think that's where discernment comes in. Not every thought deserves equal attention.
Yeah, that's right. Some thoughts are rooted in fear. Some thoughts are from old experiences or old expectations that were placed on us. Some are rooted in comparison.
Oh,
We talked
right.
about that a
Yes,
little bit
yes.
in our first episode, and some are rooted in truth. So part of growing is learning to tell the difference.
So instead of asking, why am I thinking this? Maybe we could ask, is this thought helping me become the woman I want to be? Might be
Mhm.
helpful.
I love that. I love that question because it really shifts us from being victims of our thoughts to become wise stewards of them. We can rule our thoughts. They don't have to rule us.
Absolutely. So you know what I've noticed? The thoughts that create the most stress are usually the ones that begin with, I should.
Mm, that's a word.
I should. How many I shoulds have you said today? Like,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
since you woke up.
I should have brought the rose water.
That's funny. But even like you're like, yeah, I should have, I should be, I should already know this, I should be further along. It's amazing how one little word can carry so much weight.
Yes, it can. Because should really elicits something that's with guilt, right? I should do this. And if I'm not doing it, then obviously there's something that I'm not doing correctly. Sometimes I catch myself and ask, well, according to whom?
Okay.
Who's
I like
giving
it.
me that should?
Right,
Is it
right.
me?
Yeah.
Who decided that I should have it all figured out by now? Who decided that I should never need rest? Who decided that I should always have the perfect answer? Because most of the time, those expectations aren't coming from anyone else. They're coming from an old script that I've been carrying around for a long time.
And maybe it's time to edit that script.
Absolutely.
I feel like I'm doing that.
Yeah. I
I
love
feel like
it.
I'm doing that through this podcast.
Yes.
I'm loving it. Like, I'm like, I don't know if anybody, like, if you've been listening to us each week, I feel like we've already grown in, I mean, just from doing the podcast.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I'm totally editing my script.
Yes.
It's fun. I'm
Yeah.
enjoying it.
I think we're all being kind of asked to edit our scripts and making changes and speaking truth, right?
Mhm.
I think so. So, and it's not necessarily um that we're going to be different people or we're becoming different
Sure.
people, but it's really about becoming more truthful with ourselves.
That's my theme. That's
Speaking
my
our
theme for
truth.
the year is one of the simple practices that I've started using is asking myself one question. Whenever I notice my mind spiraling, it's what else could be true?
Mhm.
So that's been super helpful.
And that's such a beautiful question because it really opens the door to being curious instead of certainty. And, maybe they're not upset with me. Maybe they're just busy. Maybe they're having a really hard day and
Absolutely.
I don't know what's going on. Maybe this challenge isn't happening to me. Maybe this challenge is helping me grow and I'm not failing because I'm learning. And, so can I just share a little bit? Because this
Yeah.
pops in to my mind.
I love our
So
stories.
I know.
Because I think stories are great because they kind of seal the deal on what we're talking about,
Mhm.
right? I mean, to put it into practice kind of. So
Mhm.
yes. All right, I'm ready.
So remember I think it was session or episode 1 or 0. I don't know. The one that I told you I had a life or death experience. And you said, oh, I don't know the story.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
So I did have a very significant dog mauling about 8 years ago. And I knew what we are talking about now, right? I knew that. And I was very, very determined that I was not going to let this change who I am in a negative way. I didn't want post-traumatic stress from it.
Mhm.
I didn't want to be afraid of dogs. I love dogs. All of that. And I had to do some work, But I really had that mindset of, I didn't look at it like this is happening to me. I really and I wasn't perfect. I had my moments and things
Mhm,
like that.
mhm.
And I would say it probably took a good solid 8 months of very significant work to reframe and all the whole experience and stuff. But I was always like, what can I learn from this? And what
Mhm,
was amazing about it was because I already knew what I was doing and I was already a resilience coach,
mhm.
it gave me almost like a third person perspective
Oh,
on
right.
watching what I was experiencing, what my body was doing, how my brain was handling things and stuff
Mhm.
like that. And so that was definitely a life turning event for me in helping me to solidify in this working with our brains, understanding how things affect us and how we actually have control over how we choose to then respond to them.
I bet that
Yeah,
helped you also with your not that it would help you, but with your resilience coaching. To
100.
have an experience that I mean, not similar, but right, like sometimes going through it yourself is gonna
Yes,
help you be a better coach for someone
yes,
else.
100% to even being in law enforcement. I was never that close to losing my life or even being as injured.
Mhm.
And so it did give me just an incredible perception of being able to relate where people are at,
Mhm.
just being able to really notice and just to be able to understand, yeah, I've been there. Might not necessarily the same exact experience,
Sure.
but yeah, it did give me a whole different paradigm when coaching.
Are you this is off topic, are you
Yeah.
scared of dogs?
No.
Do you it doesn't
No. I am aware of dogs. I
Mhm,
will say that.
mhm,
I am aware of dogs, but I'm not scary. I am more aware of dogs that I don't know, but I
mhm.
don't have that intense fear. Yeah. So, Amy, thank you for asking that. Yeah.
Definitely.
So, as we close today, I would love to leave you with a gentle invitation. This week, let's simply notice our thoughts, right? Not to judge them, not to fix them, not to have them be information that you're doing something wrong, but just to notice. And when you catch yourself saying things like, I always, I never, I should, what if, just pause for a minute and ask yourself, is it a fact or is this a story?
And if it's a story, then you can ask maybe one more question, like, could it be true?
Yes. Yes.
Or what else could be true? And sometimes that question is enough just to soften an entire day.
Yeah. Yeah. It just gives you that little bit of space. So recognize your mind for the incredible gift that it is. It helps us solve problems, to dream, to create, to remember, to, just imagine who we want to be. I love it. But it also needs our guidance. We don't have to believe every thought that passes through. We get to choose which thoughts we nurture and which ones we simply just let drift by, just like a cloud, let it go.
Yeah, I think that's what softening looks like in my mind. It's just a cloud, like, oh, just,
Hmm.
not necessarily thinking less, but just thinking with more compassion, a
Yeah.
little more curiosity, and definitely more grace.
Yes. And we hope that today's conversation encourages you to pay attention to the stories that you're telling yourself and to remember that you have the power to change the conversation happening in your own mind.
That's right. We are the captains of our own ships. You'll find this week's Rosemary Grapefruit Clarity Spritz recipe reflection questions in the links below. You can also sign up to join our community at www.bounceandbubbles.com, where you can receive emails directly to your phone. I mean, you can listen to us on your phone. You can also listen to us on your computer. And don't forget, your best options are when you're driving, when you're folding laundry, when you're doing the dishes, and never feel like you can't reach out to us. We would love someone to like DM us. I don't even know what that
Yes.
really means, but like I've heard of it. I would love someone to DM us or send us an email or just let us know what how these podcasts might be affecting you. Again, we're not really asking you. We're not trying to like, tell you what to do. We're really just living our life, the second half of our life, and trying to be a little bit more intentional, a little bit more thoughtful and forgiving ourselves. And so we're hoping that we can share this community and journey with other women going through the same things.
Yeah, absolutely. We would love to interact. And if you want to give us some um, topics for conversation that you're like, well, I really want to learn about this, or let's talk about that, or let's
Yep.
just put it on the table. I think one of our best comments that we had was one of our listeners says, "This is the community I've been looking for."
Yes.
Just being able to be real,
Yes.
and recognize how things are for sure. So if you're enjoying our podcast, please be sure to like and subscribe to help share with more people. Algorithms, again, we don't know exactly what that means, but it helps. Send the link to a friend or share with a group of your friends. We talked earlier about, this could be a weekly ritual with some girlfriends, and you guys can create some conversation around what we talk about for the day. So if you really enjoy the podcast, share it with people. You can find the links in all of our platforms down below in the podcast notes. We would love to have you be a part of our growing community. Well, thank you for sharing your time with us.
And until next time, come as you are.
Reset often, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.